The King's Avatar, Chapter 1362. It's always like this. Audio source: wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1362. It's always like this. Translator: Gnome Yummy. Editor: Gnome Yummy. Step by step, Lu Hao carefully approached. Absent Sun moved steadily, his eyes unwavering, with no openings in sight. The viewers yawned. Lord Grimm wasn't in the direction Absent Sun was moving in. Having an omniscient view sometimes made things quite boring. The viewers all felt bored. They regretfully could not experience Lu Hao's nervousness and could not sympathize with Lu Hao's extreme caution. Earthquake soared. Absent Sun threw out a fierce attack, and a wave of earth surged forth. The whirling earth crashed into that stone pillar and sliced it in half. The earthquake sword had split into two paths and then converged towards the center of the stone pillar. Lu Hao had been waiting for this moment. Absent Sun slid to the side to get a better line of sight and sent out a nice wave sword. Ha!
The audience once again yawned.
There was no one behind that stone pillar. What was the point of making so much noise? Yishu's Lord Grimm was quite a distance away and wasn't within the attack's range. A fight wasn't going to break out. Everyone could see that clearly. It was only Lu Hao alone, with his spirit trembling with excitement, who couldn't see it. His two skills ended up hitting nothing but air. He's not there. Lu Hao was shocked to discover that Lord Grimm wasn't behind the stone pillar. However, with his experience and his familiarity with the map, he immediately determined how Lord Grimm had disappeared from right under his eyes. Absent Sun moved precisely along the route Lord Grimm had chosen. The audience noticed Lu Hao's precise judgment and shook excitedly. Applause suddenly poured down. This time, he was truly closing in. However, this time, Lu Hao wasn't certain of Lord Grimm's exact location. The audience didn't know that though. All they saw was Lu Hao chasing after Lord Grimm with extraordinary precision. They thought he had completely ascertained Lord Grimm's position. How could they know Lu Hao only had a rough idea? He was still picking from A, B, or C as his final answer. Seeing Absent Sun getting closer and closer to Lord Grimm, the crowd became increasingly more excited. All sorts of cheers and excited shouts exploded. Then, they watched as Absent Sun sweep out an earthquake sword towards a stone pillar with no one there. Fuck. What a letdown. Everyone's hopes were instantly crushed. The crowd immediately went silent. Lu Hao did the same two attack maneuver as before and once again saw that there was no one behind that stone pillar. Okay, so A's been eliminated. There's only B and C left. He should be behind those two stone pillars, right? Lu Hao was suddenly unsure again. He had been confident in his pursuit. Even though he hadn't seen any signs of Lord Grimm, he was certain Yishu was dancing in the palm of his hands. If there were any strange movements, he would definitely notice them. But there were none. That meant Lord Grimm should be in front of him. He just couldn't confirm whether A, B, or C was correct. Lu Hao believed choice A was the last likely. He still chose it in the end though. It was actually bait. When he attacked A, his attention was more focused on B and C. He thought Yishu would act as soon as he guessed wrong, so he wanted to beat him at his own game. But Yishu did not act. As a result, he safely eliminated as the correct choice and now began pondering over the other two choices. The audience suddenly became quite lively. Lord Grimm's over there. If your first guess wasn't right, try again. Why'd you stop? Absent Sun raised his short sword and suddenly started casting a wave formation. With just one move, he could cover both options. At this moment, Lord Grimm casually stepped out from Pillar B. Lu Hao was greatly alarmed and hastily cancelled his wave formation. Shin cut. Lord Grimm cut across and appeared right in front of Lu Hao. You haven't changed. Your playstyle is always so fake, Yishu said as Lord Grimm let out two slashes in the shape of a cross. At this distance, a vertical and horizontal slash was truly difficult to dodge. Lu Hao reacted quite fast though. Absent Sun shielded his head with his short sword, using the Blade Master skill guard to block Lord Grimm's attack. Borrowing the momentum from Lord Grimm's attack, he slid back. You clearly know where I was hiding. Why not directly attack me? Why did you insist on running in circles? Yishu didn't have Lord Grimm urgently rush over and followed up on the conversation. You call that fake? Lu Hao sneered. Are you saying you've never done this? I have, but no one is so fake through and through. Yishu replied. Do you really think words like those would shake me up? Lu Hao said. If you really did get shaken up, that would be great. Yishu said. Shut up. Lu Hao was finally unable to hold back. After all, letting it accumulate was quite tiring as well. Alright, Yishu responded. Lord Grimm moved again. Lu Hao sneered. In his eyes, Yishu had made a mistake. Lord Grimm suddenly leaping out, while his absent son was casting a spell, came out of nowhere. Lord Grimm instantly closed in on him too. It had been such a perfect ambush opportunity. But instead of continuing his assault, he just chattered. Lu Hao was truly laughing from head to toe. He had truly been panicking whether or not he could block Lord Grimm's direct attacks. That distance wasn't a Spellblade's ideal distance. Instead, Yishu stopped, giving him a chance to breathe. This was simply letting a tiger return to the mountains. Lu Hao had adjusted himself. If another attack came, he wouldn't be afraid. He had originally planned on directly fighting with Yishu. Why else would he have charged directly to the center of the map at the start of the match? You'll pay the price for trying to preach to me. Lu Hao shouted inwardly. Absent Sun raised his sword. A frenzy of fire surged towards Lord Grimm. Fire wave sword. Bang. The raging flames left Lord Grimm nowhere to dodge. The fire blazed, turning Lord Grimm into smoke. Humph. Lu Hao laughed coldly. Shadow clone technique. Yishu had used this old trick who knew how many times by now. Absent Sun had already leapt up. At practically the same time as the fire wave sword, he twisted his body in the air and released an earthquake sword. WuxaWorldAudio.com. The land quaked and violent sword intent flew forward, but all that it hit was a thread of Lord Grimm's clothing. Absent Sun had missed. Lord Grimm hadn't been standing directly behind him, but rather to the side a sliver. The earthquake sword grudgingly whistled by him. Who told you I always went behind my opponents? Yishu asked as Lord Grimm unsheathed his sword. Sword draw. The sword light swept over. The airborne Absent Sun had no way of dodging it. He had just guarded previously. Its cooldown wasn't up yet. All he could do was swing his sword as a normal attack to parry it. However, a normal attack had lower priority than sword draw. It couldn't completely block it. The sword draw pushed Absent Sun's short sword back towards him. Absent Sun crashed to the ground. The flames from his previous fire wave sword had yet to extinguish. Even though he wasn't able to completely block it, it still had some effect. Absent Sun didn't go into a tumble as a result. Lu Hao adjusted his character, so he would land on his feet. Clack. The instant he fell, a clack came from beneath his feet. Lu Hao lowered his head and saw spikes throughout his character's feet. Thief's skill spike trap rooted the target. Lu Hao's face suddenly paled. He hadn't noticed when Lord Grimm had placed the trap down. From its location, could it have been the instant he sent out the fire wave sword? Could he have used the light from the flames as a cover? In any case, Lu Hao had been hit by the trap, and his Absent Sun couldn't move an inch for the duration of spike trap. And this time, Yishu had no plans of chatting with him. Grenade, sand toss, disperse powder. Lord Grimm rushed over and threw a bunch of things. Unable to move, the only thing Lu Hao could do was look away to avoid sand toss's blind effect. Every other projectile had hit. Then, Lord Grimm's sword glowed dark purple as a ghost soul flashed out. A boundary had appeared on the ground, sword soul, or sword boundary. All allies within the boundary would have their strength and intelligence greatly buffed. The real offensive had only just begun. Unspecialized blitz. With Spike Trap in effect, Absent Sun could only stand there and get beaten. When Spike Trap's rude effect dissipated, Absent Sun could still only get beaten up. Lu Hao wanted to cry. He had been waiting to use this map for a long time. He had been waiting for the key moment to use it to improve his popularity. This crucial match against Yishu and his 35-round win streak were once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to win huge amounts of fame. Lu Hao had sacrificed his treasure and released his treasure's full might. He had utilized his familiarity with the map to give a precise chase and received the audience's applause. But there was nothing after that. He received no more chances to utilize this map. Yishu had used a spike trap to seal his movements. Then, after making a few setups, Yishu didn't give him a single opportunity to counterattack or use the map as cover. Am I going to lose? Lose like this? I was so meticulous and precise with my preparations, yet I'm going to lose like this without any chance of retaliation. Impossible. It doesn't make sense. I worked hard and put in the effort. Victory. Why can't I see any shred of victory? Will I truly never be able to beat him? Lu Hao felt fear. He had exhausted everything at his disposal in this match. He thought that he had a huge advantage, but he hadn't even been able to hold the upper hand for even a minute. It was like he's still a trainee at the Excellent Era train camp. That battle god from up above strolled into the train camp, picked a random map, and just casually crushed him. He thought that he had grown strong, but in the end, he could see no difference from the past. He was easily and casually defeated. Why did it turn out like this? When Absent Sun fell, Lu Hao collapsed in his seat and roared furiously. But no one could hear him. End chapter.
The King's Avatar, Chapter 1363 Blossoms on the Cliff. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1363 Blossoms on the Cliff. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. Happy vs Wind Howl, 1-0. The scoreboard in the stadium clearly displayed the two teams' points after the first battle. Yishu's win streak continued. In the live broadcast, Pan Lin and Li Yibo only mentioned this once, almost with an air of resignation. It was simply too repetitive. And with this battle in particular, Li Yibo felt that he had been face-slapped once again. He hadn't even dared to make any thorough analysis at the start of the match. He'd only said that this map was suitable for Spellblades, and that Lu Hao had chosen it carefully. He felt that he couldn't go wrong with such an obvious observation. But in the end, had this map actually been suitable for the Spellblade? If only looking at the actual performance, and not the map, then Li Yibo could only be given a regretful ha. Just from the on-stage performance, it was impossible to see that Lu Hao's Absent Sun had used any special characteristics of the map. But would Coach Li be beaten that easily? Yishu played very well, Li Yibo said. From the very start, he could tell that the map put him at a disadvantage, so step by step, he drew the opponent into his plan, took control, and ended the match. Yes, what did Lu Hao want to do with this map? We didn't even get the chance to see. Pan Lin followed Li Yibo's thought process. This match between old teammates didn't ignite the fireworks we'd expected. Yishu easily obtained victory, said Li Yibo. Yes, Yishu won easily, and now happy is 1-0 in the lead. The Wind Howl audience seems somewhat disappointed, Pan Lin said. This outcome probably caught them off guard as well. The first player in a match is usually chosen to be someone with a tougher style. This kind of player can carry the atmosphere, and even if they lose, they won't disappoint people too much. Lu Hao is more of a calculating player, but if he miscalculates, then his loss is a bit more ugly, said Li Yibo. Yeah, this match, he seemed a bit off, Pan Lin said. While the two of them discussed, the two players had already begun to come off stage. Lu Hao's face was ugly as he walked along, and he heard a few boos directed at him. Clearly, a number of Wind Howl fans were unsatisfied with his performance. But overall, the Wind Howl audience was still relatively tolerant. "Let's get ready to enjoy the second battle," Pan Lin said. The camera switched back to show the digital display in the stadium, and very soon, the names of the players participating in the second battle of the individual round appeared. Happy, Mo Fan, Deception. Wind Howl, Guo Yang, Chi Breaker. Another former excellent era player. Li Yibo said. Happy sent out Mo Fan, unlike their recent pattern of sending Luoji or Wei Chen. It looks like the situation's getting more tense, so Happy doesn't dare to continue to let Luoji and Wei Chen find their condition, said Pan Lin. Updated by Box Novel. If they lose points now, they won't have any more chances to win him back, said Li Yibo. Indeed, these were the last two rounds. Every single point was precious. It was very possible that the final standings would be determined by this single point. Wind Howl had lost 1 point, but they were still in 7th place, and had a points advantage over 8th and 9th. Meanwhile, 100 Blossoms, currently in 8th place, was in a greater need of points, but they also lost the first point of the individual round. Song Qiang, the young general of Tyranny, went first, and ultimately defeated 100 Blossoms' old general Zhang Wei to win a first point for Tyranny. The second Tyranny player instantly provoked boos from all corners of the 100 Blossoms stadium. Zhang Jiale. It could only be Zhang Jiale. Every time he returned to this stadium, he was met with this kind of welcome. It had already been 3 years since he retired from 100 Blossoms. It had already been 2 years since he joined Tyranny. Yet 100 Blossoms' resentment toward him seemed not to have lessened in the slightest. Even if there were many 100 Blossoms fans that understood him, their voices would never be loud enough. Those who passionately despised Zhang Jiale had a stronger presence. This season, 100 Blossoms fans had organized a poll amongst themselves, a contest in which they ranked the various players in 100 Blossoms history in different categories. The player toward whom they were most grateful, and the player they hated the most. The number one for both categories was Zhang Jiale. Zhang Jiale, to 100 Blossoms, was an angel and a demon combined. Some remembered his many years of contributions, while others hated his final abandonment. Love and hate tangled together like this, in a never-ending debate. Now that he came on stage, there was some applause, but there was more booing. In the end, 100 Blossoms desperately need victory at this time, and Zhang Jiale had become an obstacle standing in their way. Evidently, this would ignite more hatred than gratitude. And on 100 Blossoms' side, when their player name was announced, the crowd instantly hushed. Zhou Yuan, Great Blossoms. By coincidence, 100 Blossoms' old and new Spitfires stood opposite each other on the battlefield. The very air seemed thick with tension. But Zhang Jiale was very calm. Having walked to this point today, he would have no other emotion. All of those feelings and conflicts of the past were now buried deep in his heart. He would reminisce, but not at this moment. Perhaps the points didn't matter to Tyranny right now anymore, but Zhang Jiale absolutely would not throw the match for 100 Blossoms. He still hoped he could earn the understanding and support of the 100 Blossoms fans, but he would not do so through such a method. He would play this match seriously. It wasn't a victory that Tyranny needed, but to himself, and to 100 Blossoms, this was the greatest respect he could offer. Gunshots. The two Spitfires were already fighting. These were perhaps the two best Spitfires in glory right now, both from Team 100 Blossoms, both controlling Spitfire characters with the word Blossoms in their names. Who was weaker? Who was stronger? This was not a question that could be answered with one match. In one match, there was only victory and defeat. Zhou Yuan's playstyle had inherited many characteristics from Zhang Jialei's, but later on, he had integrated many of his own traits as well. The two styles seemed to be similar, but they weren't the same. This had nothing to do with which was superior. They simply each used their own abilities to the limit. Amidst roars, explosions bloomed like flowers. In this instant, everyone forgot all debate, as they were captivated by the sights on stage. Victory and defeat, that was all there was. No matter what player, what class, what style, what debate, once on the battlefield, only victory and defeat were displayed in the end. The loser would fall. The winner would remain standing. Aside from this, there would be no other outcome. And when this moment arrived, glory, the display flashed with this large word. The holographic projection, showing the details of the battle, played the final moments in slow motion. Amidst the fireworks exploding like blooming flowers, great blossoms fell. In the end, Zhou Yuan could not defeat his senior. As for Zhang Jialei, he knew very well that this match was just icing on the cake for tyranny, while it could be fatal for 100 Blossoms. But he didn't hesitate, didn't retreat, as he resolutely controlled dazzling 100 Blossoms to fire the final shot. As for what consequences this would have for 100 Blossoms, it was no longer his business. 100 Blossoms core player, ace character, this was all in the past. 2-0. In Tyranny's away game against 100 Blossoms, when Tyranny no longer need to care too much about victory, they still obtained the first point, pushing 100 Blossoms to the cliff's edge. WuxaWorldAudio.com. The news from the other ongoing matches only gave 100 Blossoms even more of a panic. 301, who had only been behind and by 1 point, was facing the last place seaside this round. By now, they'd already won all 3 of their individual battles, squeezing 100 Blossoms out of the top 8. Thunderclap was playing their home game against Samsara and had already finished 2 individual matches. Even though Thunderclap was generally weaker individually, they had actually taken the lead 2-0 against Samsara. In Wind Howl against Happy, they finished 2 battles and were tied 1-1. When 2 direct competitors were garnering points at an equal rate like this, it was the worst for the other competitors. It would be better for 100 Blossoms if one team dropped a lot of points, because then there'd be space to pass them. Not a single piece of good news. Team 100 Blossoms, at 9th place right now, had no road of retreat. Victory. They need victory. If they weren't able to earn points this round, then their season would come to an end right here. 100 Blossoms was facing an away game at Samsara next round. It was truly too difficult to push any hopes onto that match. You have to win. Carrying all of 100 Blossoms' hopes as he walked on stage was their summoner Zhu Xiaoping. The one he was about to face was the player who quietly demonstrated his strength through positioning and movement, Qin Miyun. Zhu Xiaoping knew how critical this battle was, but it was a difficult task. His summoned creatures had no way of completing an encirclement around Qin Miyun's -9 degrees. Qin Miyun's precise movement allowed him to thread his way through the army of summons, while his bullets were sent wave after wave toward Zhu Xiaoping's wind carving. The summons he'd sent to surround the opponent weren't enough, but Zhu Xiaoping didn't have anything left to summon creatures to protect himself. Both attack and defense were too difficult, and in the end, he unfortunately lost this crucial third match. 0-3. 100 Blossoms was now lagging 0-3. Just when they thought the situation couldn't get any worse, Tyranny dealt him another blow. When he came off stage, Zhu Xiaoping's expression was anguished. He hadn't been able to manifest the hopes that the entire team, the entire audience, had placed upon him. He knew what this loss implied. The stadium was deathly silent. No matter how dissatisfied they were by 100 Blossom's performance, the audience was in no mood to boo or jeer. We have to win. In everyone's hearts, there was only this one sound: win. We can't lose any more points. We have to win every single one of the next 7 points. This is the most crucial moment of our entire season. Everyone, focus. Win. We must win. Erase every other thought from your minds. Don't hope that tyranny will let up, because they won't. That team never will. We can only bring out everything we have and wager it all on this stage. This is our opportunity, and we can only rely on ourselves to seize it. Win. Win all the way until the end. In the short break after the individual round ended, Yufeng was desperately trying to boost the team's morale. Let's go, he roared. Don't let the opponents look down upon us. Don't let down our fans. Let's get them. End chapter. The King's Avatar. Chapter 1364. An extremely stressful team competition. Audio source, wuxia-world-audiobook.com. Chapter 1364. An extremely stressful team competition. Translator, Nomyami. Editor, Nomyami. At the brink of disaster, without anywhere else to retreat to, Team 100 Blossoms finally showed astonishing fighting strength during the group arena. Amongst them, the most praiseworthy performance came from their assassin player, Zhou Guangyi. He had played exceptionally well, narrowly completing a 1v2. After such a beautiful opening, the following 2 players didn't waste the opportunity, finally securing a valuable 2 points for Team 100 Blossoms in the group arena, somewhat stabilizing the cliff that they were on. But the news that arrived from other matches made 100 Blossoms' situation as dire as before. 301 was entering the team competition with an absolute lead of 5-0, already putting themselves ahead of 100 Blossoms by 2 points. It looked like they wouldn't have too much trouble securing victory in the team competition, meaning that 301 had secured a full 10 points in this round. Thunderclap, after seizing 2 points in the individual competition, now suffered against Samsara's strong retaliation, with the score already changing to 2-3 in favor of Samsara. Still, Thunderclap was ahead of 100 Blossoms by 7 points. Even if they were to lose the upcoming team competition, 100 Blossoms couldn't rely solely on beating Tyranny in the team competition to surpass them. The other match was the one that 100 Blossoms had pinned the most of their hopes on. Team Wind Howl was only ahead of them by 3 points, so of course, 100 Blossoms was hoping that the gap wouldn't increase, or even for them to simply overtake Wind Howl in one move. In the end, after their initial victory in the first individual round, the retaliation that Happy received was even more dramatic than the one against Thunderclap. Team Wind Howl won round after round, with the score after the group arena tallying up to be 1-4. Happy with 1 point, and Wind Howl with 4. If Happy was ahead of 100 Blossoms by 7 points, and Thunderclap was ahead by 5 points, no matter what the end result of the round was, 100 Blossoms had no way of surpassing either of these 2 teams. Unexpectedly, their end result in this round had already been decided halfway through the competition. 9th place. It could only be 9th place, with no chance whatsoever of entering the top 8. The last round would be their final chance to make it into the top 8, but it was an away game against Samsara, the most difficult opportunity of them all. And in order to have a chance of seizing this opportunity, they had to first defeat Tyranny in the team competition of this round. They had easily taken back 2 points in a brilliant performance in the group arena, but after hearing such bad news from other matches, the morale of the members of 100 Blossoms began to wane. That makes things easier. Unexpectedly, their captain, Yufeng, had become more relaxed. We only have one road to take, without any other choices. Let's put in all our effort and try to make it. No matter what, we won't have any regrets. No matter what, we won't have any regrets. As the members of 100 Blossoms thought about it, their gazes gradually became more resolute. They need to win this round, so they would fight with no fear. Who cared who their opponents were? 100 Blossoms' current situation isn't good. No matter how the match plays out, they're definitely going to be in 9th place. Pan Lin and Li Yibo took advantage of the break in the match to comment about the circumstances for Team 100 Blossoms. That's true, but in the last round, 100 Blossoms will still have a chance. However, they have to win the upcoming team competition first. Li Yibo said, if 100 Blossoms wins the team competition, they'll have 237 points. Pan Lin looked at the team rankings and calculated. If Thunderclap loses the team competition to Samsara, they'll only have 239 points, and they'll be ahead of 100 Blossoms by 2 points. If Team 301 wins the team competition against Seaside and takes 10 points, they'll also be at 239 points, ahead of 100 Blossoms by 2 points. As for the match we're currently broadcasting, if Wind Howl wins in the team competition, Happy will only be ahead of 100 Blossoms by 2 points. And if Happy wins, then Wind Howl will have the same number of points as 100 Blossoms. 100 Blossoms still has an obvious opportunity to make it into the top 8. No matter who wins or loses in the current match between Wind Howl and Happy, one team will be left behind, becoming the target for 100 Blossoms to surpass, Li Yibo said. I'm sure that they've already heard the news from the other matches during this break, so they should be very clear of the circumstances that they're facing. Pan Lin said. In this round, both teams are shouldering a lot of pressure. But if they lose this round, they'll face even more pressure in the next round. Wind Howl will face Tiny Herb in the last round, and Happy will face 301. Neither match will be easy for them to deal with, Li Yibo said. Looking at it, Wind Howl has taken 4 consecutive points in the individual rounds, so their morale should be very high, and they have the benefit of being the home team. On the other hand, after their initial victory, Happy has lost 4 points in a row, so they need to collect themselves quickly. Pan Lin said. Yes, that's right. While these two teams are evidently in a much better state than 100 Blossoms, they're still not too far from the edge of the cliff. Whoever loses will move a few steps closer to that cliff, where 100 Blossoms is desperately trying to claw their way back in. It could very well be that 100 Blossoms comes back, while one of these teams makes an exit. Li Yibo said, putting his fists on the edge of the table to illustrate what he meant. Let's wait and see which team can better stabilize their state of mind at this crucial time. Pan Lin said. The team competition is about to begin. Li Yibo replied. Let's return to the current match. Pan Lin said, as the camera moved away from the commentator's booth and back to the arena. At the same time, a bird's-eye shot overlooked the player benches for each team, where the players were huddled in a circle, obviously making crucial preparations for the match ahead. In the arena, the referee walked to the side of the stage, stretching his hand out to indicate that the competitors from the two teams should prepare to go on stage. One by one, the names of the players from each side who would be appearing in the team competition flashed on the large screen in the stadium. Fuck. Pan Lin suddenly cried out, before immediately covering his mouth, but it was already too late. During this whole season, he had been walking on the blade's edge with the issue of repeatedly swearing, and Pan Lin had put in a great amount of effort to control his repeated urges to curse out loud. Unfortunately, in the second-to-last round, his willpower finally cracked, and he was unable to refrain from swearing. In an instant, his cursing was transmitted to the ears of every single viewer. He could practically already see his bonus for that month flying out of his pocket. Happy is really too bold. Li Yibo was really quite considerate, knowing that Pan Lin's sudden swearing wasn't very appropriate, so he hurriedly spoke up, doing his best to cover it up a bit. Yeah. Pan Lin was still somewhat unable to calm himself after his mistake. In a match as crucial as this, Ye Zhu still isn't going up in the team competition? Li Yibo continued to stare in surprise at the names of the players who were competing in the team competition. Team Happy, Fang Rui, Su Mucheng, Tang Rou, Luo Ji, and Wen Yi, Mo Fan. Not only was Ye Zhu not going up, Luo Ji, a rookie who had only played in a few rounds, was unexpectedly appearing in the team competition roster during such an important match. What on earth is Happy thinking? Pan Lin exploded. Could it be that Ye Zhu has really run into some kind of problem? Quote, this time, Li Yibo really couldn't stop himself from making a conjecture. Even though Ye Zhu had continued his unblemished record in the individual competition, he'd already rested for 4 whole rounds when it came to the team competition. Normally, if a player didn't appear for 4 rounds, most people wouldn't think that they were rotating their roster, they would think that the player had been cut from the main roster entirely. But how could Happy possibly cut Ye Zhu? Could he have suffered an injury that prevents him from playing for a long period of time? Like Sun Zheping? Pan Lin wondered. Until today, Sun Zheping had only played in the individual competition for Team Heavenly Swords. It was no secret that he couldn't take on a greater burden due to his hand injury. WuxaWorldAudio.com. Ye Zhu only appearing in the individual competition for 4 rounds in a row really did have a few similarities to Sun Zheping's situation. No matter whether he was resting, or if it was some kind of deliberate feint, Ye Zhu not appearing in such a crucial competition really didn't conform to common sense. But no matter how surprised everyone was, Happy could only have these 6 players who were taking the field. At this time, they were lined up in the middle of the stage next to Windhowl's 6 players, taking in the look of astonishment on their faces. Evidently, Ye Zhu not appearing in this round was something that no one had expected, not even Team Windhowl. After shaking hands and exchanging greetings, the 2 sides made their way to the player booths. As they walked away, some of Windhowl's players turned their heads in suspicion, as if Ye Zhu was mixed into that group of 6, waiting to catch him off guard. Don't bother thinking about what the other side is doing, it's irrelevant to us. We'll mark their players. The same thing as usual, their captain, Tang Hao, said to the rest of his team. Understood. Windhowl's players nodded their heads, but at this time, their vice-captain, Lu Hao, was staring at Happy's player bench, away from the stage. He was staring at Ye Zhu. Having been easily beaten into submission during the individual competition, Lu Hao was on the verge of collapse, but he was really too good at hiding his true feelings. After he came out of the player booths, he wore a look of defeat without despair, apologizing to his teammates, encouraging the next player, leaving no room for anyone to say anything much to him. Only he knew that deep inside, he wasn't as calm and collected as he looked. He was about to go insane. He simply couldn't accept the reality that he had been so easily dispatched by Ye Zhu. He wanted revenge. He needed revenge. The opportunity was right in front of him, the team competition. In the team competition, they would face each other again. And in the team competition, where Windhowl wanted each person to mark an opposing player, Lu Hao's mark was indeed Ye Zhu. Lu Hao had clenched his teeth, waiting for this moment the entire time. But in the end, Ye Zhu didn't appear. In such a crucial, important match, Ye Zhu actually decided not to play in the team competition. The energy that Lu Hao had been building up for the whole of the first half of the competition immediately turned to sullenness. He desperately wanted to take down Yizhu, but from the very start, Yizhu paid no mind to him. When he should take the stage, he went up, and when he wanted to rest, he would rest. Just because Lu Hao was on the other team, would he have to go up in the team competent to take the reins? Regrettably, Lu Hao never had this sort of worthiness, and Yizhu never had such intentions. Yizhu didn't appear, so Lu Hao's mark changed. His new mark, Luoji. Boxnovel.com. This was the natural substitute, since Yizhu hadn't appeared in the match. Wind Howl had no intention of rearranging each person's mark once again. But Lu Hao wasn't in a good mood, immediately becoming furious with the player that he had to target during the match. It was actually that noob. Lu Hao felt as if he was being scorned. Deep down inside, he knew that there was no such thing, it was just a natural result of Happy's players being swapped. But even then, he couldn't get rid of the feeling that they were looking down on him. Let's beat them, Tang roared. Yes. The players shouted back. The competition began. End chapter.